So we've been watching In Search of Darkness and been given some titles to check out. And I'm sure we're going to get a lot more of titles that not even I have seen. This is a movie that I had seen the cover of 100 times. I've seen it mentioned 100 times, but just never got around to watching it. Yes, even Jason from Sinister Cinema Reviews hasn't seen every single movie.
Who would have
thunk it? All right. Right out the gate, this movie was fantastic.
Yes.
I loved this. I was like shocked by how much I was into this. This is like good old classic horror story,
yes,
but with awesome effects.
Yes,
right?
I agree.
I felt like it was a blending of like classic horror with modern effects.
Yeah,
right?
Totally.
And that's not something you get a marriage of much, because in the 80s, like Peter Vincent says, right, like, you know, kids don't want this kind of stuff anymore. They want the killer in the hockey mask with the knife, right? It's like, I butchered that line, I'm sure, but it's something along those lines. But this was like, this just had like, it almost reminded me of like an old Amicus anthology, like a, you know, freaking Tales from the Crypt, right? The 1972, like, Amicus Tales from the Crypt, or Dr. Terror's House of Horrors, or Vault of Horror, or whatever one of those Amicus films, where it's got that, like, really cool older cast of, like, familiar aging actors, whether it's Fred Astaire or whatever, and they're telling these kind of ghost stories to each other, but there's kind of a modern flavor to the showing of the ghouls and ghosts, right?
Yeah, right.
And I was completely engaged and like riveted.
Yeah.
The whole film.
Yeah, I really loved this as well, and I think that it just does. It has such like the classic feel, like you said, like it's a classic ghost story, and it's really creepy and very unsettling at times, and just like the story itself is very compelling, and I felt like not bored at all.
No,
you know, which
never
doesn't really happen to me in older films, but I know sometimes people feel that way about movies, like when it's older they like get bored by it. But yeah, seeing this older cast too, they all did such a great job, and the effects were really amazing. There's some really scary stuff in it, especially at the towards the end too. But yeah, I'm very, very happy that we watched it, because I think that it's wonderful.
Yeah, and this also has a reminiscent feel to it when it starts too, which kind of already gets you in the mood, because I'm a big fan of The Fog, and I have been for a long time. And John Houseman, who is the opening storyteller of The Fog, doing his shtick about Spivey Point and you know, the Elizabeth Dane and all that stuff. You then have him doing a very similar shtick here, but it like sets that tone that you're familiar with. So like I felt like I was watching The Fog, and like immediately was like on board.
Yeah.
And it was like, ooh, ooh, ooh. And then it goes to this guy who's like in bed with this girl, and then she turns around and he falls out the window, and this fall is brutal. He's like nude and falling, and he like breaks through the glass, and his naked body hits the ground, and like it was really intense
and super unexpected.
Yes.
I was not expecting that at all. Like when we started this movie, I thought it was going to be really conservative, and like kind of like hoity-toity or something, and we get a lot of nudity in this, and yeah, it was unexpected.
Yeah, sure, and like he kind of wakes up and he's like, and this is a movie that I think, you know, like we've talked about with tons of films, but this would definitely benefit from multiple watches. Yes. And the opening I'd like to watch again because of the brother who wakes up in bed next to this girl, and he's like, "Who are you?" And she's like, kind of, it's like she won't look at him, and keeps like turning her body, and she's like, "I'm you."
Oh my god, it was creepy.
That was scary, man.
I think that the atmosphere in this is great. Like everything when they're dealing with like the supernatural and the ghosts and everything, like it just has fantastic atmosphere. It's super unnerving and like it's a ghost story. Like it's a really perfect ghost story vibe.
Yeah. And when she turns and she's got that dead face and then he just falls out the window, that shit's fantastic.
Yeah.
Almost kind of reminded me a bit of like The Grudge.
The
Bill Pullman opening with him falling out the window. But yeah, excellent. I prefer this opening. But just kind of reminiscent. And Alison Krieg, I think it's Krieg. In this, who we know from more recent outings. She did more stuff back then, but like recently she's gotten more into horror, doing like Gretel and Hansel and She Will and the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. She's the new one on Netflix. She's the ailing, she's Leatherface's like aunt who like has a heart attack or whatever, and that sets him off. She was fucking hot in this. She was a babe for sure.
Beautiful, really beautiful.
She has a lot of nudity and A+.
But oh my god, like her performance too. Like aside from just how she looked, like she really sells every aspect of it.
Hell yeah!
Like in the beginning when she's like really sweet and just like, you know, you don't know anything about her and she's just gorgeous and then like intriguing, but then her kind of descent. Yeah. Into like weird behavior and craziness. It's so good. It's so good.
And it's also very realistic. I mean, as some, you know, I've dated people like this that are like, they're very exciting and fun and like mysterious, and then all of that starts to crumble away when you try to like learn more about them, and then you start to see who they really are. Right, and there's a reason that they've kept themselves mysterious, and there's a reason why, you know, they're more frivolous with their life, and it's like because they're not mentally stable, which you know, and this kind of reminds me too of like when we just watched Cat People.
Oh my god!
Right, there's this like this intrigue to these people, and being hot doesn't help or doesn't hurt.
Doesn't
right?
help.
Doesn't help. No,
it does not
it helps
help.
Dramatically. That's like the whole reason you're there.
It's the attraction is like physical on a very large scale.
Sure.
Yeah.
So anyways, we have Craig Wasson, Wasson, Wasson. Wasson sounds right. Which we would know from Nightmare on Elm Street 3. He's the main therapist that Nancy has to, you know, assist and work with. But I guess that's probably where I know him best from. But when I saw him, my initial reaction is like, oh shit, there's the guy from Body Double, which you need to see at some point.
Yeah.
His brother dies, so he returns home, and his dad is awful. His dad is like these high society, like highfalutin freaking assholes who think that they're better than you because of how they dress and how they look and all this stuff. And he like gets off the plane, looks totally normal, totally like normal dude of the times.
Yes.
And his dad's like, why you look like a fucking hobo? Like, why are you some transient loser?
Yeah. I mean, they are all like a product of a past generation and like a past era.
Bygone era, yeah.
Because they have like a weird fraternity thing going on that's like very lame.
So, okay, I don't really understand this, and this is why another watch might work. So he admits that he slept with his fiancée, right? Who ends up being this girl that he had this relationship with. Then the brother calls him and is like, hey, like, I met this girl. She says she's not who you think she is. And like, you know, and then they get engaged. And then he wakes up in like in some bedroom with her. And then is like, doesn't know who she is. But aren't they engaged?
No, I think he's asking her, like, this is now where he's saying, like, that she's psycho and is like, who are you? Like, you're not real. You're not the person you're telling me you are. Like, that's what he's asking. He knows that this is supposed to be, you know, his fiance, the woman.
I just need to rewatch that scene.
That's what I took it as. Is just he's like that. He, you know, because his brother calls to warn him and is saying, like, she's not who you think she is, and like, her skin is cold when you touch her, and the brother is like, whatever, you're just jealous. So, but that happens before, obviously.
That does happen before, but doesn't happen in that scene. That happens when he just calls her to tell her about her, but they're not even engaged at that point because he just met her.
That's what I mean. So he's still, like, in love. He's, like, in love with the idea of her because he doesn't know anything about her. And then the scene in the beginning of the film when he's jumping out the window is, like, later in their relationship.
Sure, but it's like his brother's call doesn't really affect him until that moment because she's kind of shown her true colors at this point.
I mean, yeah, if he even remembers his... I mean, I'm sure he does remember his brother's call, and that's why he's asking, like, who are you? Like, so,
maybe. Yeah. That sounds right-ish. I don't know. I'd have to... I'll watch it again, though. I definitely am down to revisit this again in, like, I don't know, 50 years. We never have time to rewatch it.
We have so many things.
Yes, we do. But it's great. I like the one dude, the dad, running through this like snowy, isolated, vacant town. Mostly because it's just snowing out and nobody can get out. But like, I really liked that feel and that shot of the dad seeing him. And then he like goes up on the bridge, and when he sees the face of her and then like falls off the bridge, that shit, like the window scene, very reminiscent of it. It's very effective and very scary.
Effective, yeah.
And the way the bodies fall, there's an impact to that.
There is an impact. It's not like a mannequin that you just push down a flight of stairs or something.
No, this isn't the Howling Reborn.
No, it's not.
No, these are like stuntmen who, like this guy who fell over the bridge is nuts looking.
It looks crazy.
Like when he hits the freaking ice and just folds into it.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
It's hard hitting, and I really, really enjoyed that. And then the like, to add to the eeriness, and this kind of reminded me a little bit of like the original Woman in Black, where like every time like you can see her from like a little bit of a distance or like in a picture or something, her face is like blurred.
Oh yeah, I love that.
When he looks out and he sees like, but you can kind of see her, but then her like face is like just kind of blurred, almost like they took some like their finger and like smudged the camera just where you can't see her face, right?
I love that. It's definitely like a trope now in a lot of like ghost movies and such. But I think it's super effective, and I've always loved the like out of focus, faces and stuff of ghosts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, my nose was killing me.
Aw.
Just couldn't hold it anymore.
That's okay.
We usually like suffer through reviews.
You're just like...
Can't tell you how many farts I've held in.
Oh,
or how many, because we do the one take thing, and you're just sitting here and you're like, ugh. Or we've had panic attacks and all sorts of things we've sat through that we shouldn't. We should be like, all right, let's cut it, the whole one take thing, but I'm like committed to it.
Yeah, I'm not.
You're not.
I'm like not. So down to not do one takes. I like them and I don't. Like I have definitely mixed feelings about them.
I didn't know you had that much mixed feelings on it. That's fine.
Well, no, I don't think they're like extreme mixed feelings. It's just that I feel like we can do more with editing. That's all.
What do you guys think?
What do you think? They're gonna say keep the one take.
Most people are. Yeah. Most people are, because it's what they're here for. I like it because it's natural.
It is.
And the fuck ups are funny.
It is.
And I like making myself look like an asshole. Like the editing stuff is just too clean. And I know it's more popular.
You just keep the fuck ups and the assholeness in the edits.
But then what's the point of editing? I can talk pretty damn well without it.
Yeah.
So like people edit out their fuck ups and I don't. Mm-hmm. That's all it really is. Mm-hmm. And these banters like this, most people cut this shit out.
Cut it out. But we leave it in for you.
We leave it in because it's real.
It is
because
real.
You're here for authenticity. You're here for people who you connecting with. That's the kind of channel I would want to watch. This like tailored freaking, compressed bullshit is just not real to me. I don't like it. So that's why I don't do it that way. And I'm lazy. No, I'm not. The house in this, our main character, what's her name again in this? Eva?
Alma?
Eva. Or Eva is who she is in the past. And Alma is who she is in the future, yeah. So, Eva's house, Eva, it's EVA. Eva. Wally. We see her house in the past, which it's all done up nice, and then they had to like make under this house or make it up. I don't know which one they did. Like, because in Halloween they took a house that was beat up, right? And then they painted it to make it look nice for like the earlier scenes. Isn't that, or because they didn't downgrade it,
right?
They upgraded it. That would take more work, right? So I guess in this, maybe that's how the house looked.
Yeah.
When they find it, like in the later scenes, and then they just painted it.
Yeah.
For the exteriors.
I mean, it makes more
the
sense
interiors.
To do
obviously, that's like a different house.
Yeah.
Right. But regardless, this just looks like this house that they see. Not only is it cool to see it in two different forms.
Yes.
And that's of course like more symbolic of her, right? Of where she's like vibrant and alive, and then she's like,
decrepit.
Decrepit and forgotten. Yeah. But always lingering.
Yes.
But yeah, like that house looks super similar to the Bates house in Psycho.
Yeah,
it just has an addition
we saw it, we
to
were
the
like,
right.
Is that the Bates house? Like, is that? It looked just like it.
It's like Norman Bates freaking refinanced the house and put an addition onto the right side of the house. It looks exactly the same in the center. And then there's like an extra like little something over here on the right of the house. I just kept looking at it like, they look so similar. Such a similar architecture. Now the homeless man and the little boy who are like sending messages, like, and he pulls the necklace out of his mouth. Like, who are those people?
I don't know. That was actually one part of this film that I like have no idea what was happening with them, and I feel pretty dumb for not knowing, because I do feel like there is an explanation. I just totally missed it, apparently, because I have no idea who they are.
I don't either.
They are, at first I thought that they were just like, real life creepy people or whatever to like add atmosphere, but they're like supernatural. Yeah. For sure.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I need somebody to explain that to me.
Maybe a second watch, we'll figure it out.
Yeah. In 50 years.
In 50 years,
when we watch it.
I have no idea. I
don't know. Totally missed it.
But there you go. So explain it to us. We're dumb. And yeah, I mean, you've got the backstory, and the college professor dude is like cheating on his girlfriend instantly. Like, he just sees the new receptionist and he's like, need her. Now, the sins of the father thing is always annoying to me. Like, this guy has nothing to do with anything, right? Like, he doesn't deserve. Like, if my dad did something, what does that have to do with me? Yeah,
I definitely don't agree with that at all. But that is like
it's a horror movie trope.
It's a horror movie trope, and it is something that is kind of scary to think that you could be punished for something that your ancestors did by a supernatural force or being or whatever. And obviously, it's very prevalent in like religious like sentiment too. Yeah. Like, it's a big fear of humans, but it is kind of like, what? Like, it doesn't make sense to me, because you're not your grandfather or your father or anybody. No. So what they do should not be put on you, but it also adds like some level of like responsibility to you, right? Like, you shouldn't piss off an angry spirit because your kids could get punished for it.
Sure. And you shouldn't cheat on your girlfriend. Yes. Like he does. But I don't know. I got this feeling that she was like, I feel like with him, she was a seductress. Like, she positioned herself in a way to seduce him because she wanted revenge. So she became this like really wild, sexy girl that this guy just could not help himself to be around. And maybe there was something supernatural to her influence on him. Or he's just a guy and his dick got hard and he wanted to put it in her. I don't know. Regardless, I didn't know how to take the, like, influence she had on the guys back in the, like, early days, right? Of the 20s, or I guess it's even earlier than that. It's like the 10s, right? Because there's like horse-drawn carriages next to Model Ts, right? Or Model A's.
I was like initially, because before we switched, we were both talking like, is she evil the whole time, or is she a human that's then becomes a ghost and like wants the revenge? And there's a good.
I don't think that she's evil or anything. I just think that she's playing those guys a bit. But then when she falls for the one guy, I think she just wants him, and then she's pissed because of what a insecure prick he's being.
Yeah.
But she is still kind of leading the other guys on a little bit.
A little bit. I definitely think there is a bit of leading on, for sure. But I had a hard time reading her in the past, to be honest, because she didn't come across as totally innocent to me, like, at all. I felt that she was definitely enjoying the attention that she was getting.
Sure.
And then kind of got angry when it wasn't, like, when she wasn't controlling it as much, you know? Like, obviously when they all show up drunk at her house, which is, like, really messed up and weird, and, like, I would be pissed too, but so I don't blame her for being
dancing
pissed.
with them, and like,
but she's being really weird about it. She's like doing it in like a scornful way.
Yeah.
So I was like very confused about her tone for a lot of that. Like, I don't know what's going on, but yeah.
Yeah, I think that they kind of just paint her as an unstable person, right? And this is why she goes to this lengths of revenge and goes after the kid, because she's not all there when she goes into the water, right? Which, I mean, maybe she's bitchy for leading these guys on. Does she deserve to have, like, her, you know, to be knocked out and drowned in a car? Of course not. No. Like, you know, they should probably stop hanging out with her, like, if you know, or she needs to, like, try to figure out her own shit. But this is just typical, like, teenager shit. Right, I don't know how old they're supposed to be. I think they're supposed to be early 20s, which makes sense. And they're like, you know, they're all going after her because she's like the wild girl in town. She's very like exotic for them and everything. Yeah. So they all are kind of fighting for her attention, and one of them ultimately wins out, but he can't get his dick hard. He gets really embarrassed about this fact. And then he becomes jealous because he thinks that his friends are going to move in on his girl because he can't satisfy her. And then she kind of rubs it in his face. So there's kind of like a lover's quarrel that she's involving. They're both involving their friends in. And it's very shitty for both of them to do. But, you know, neither one of them deserve anything terrible. They're just being dumb kids. And, you know, now when, you know, she kind of eggs him on and pushes him, and so he pushes back harder than he should, and she gets knocked out. And the guy who becomes a doctor, I mean, maybe you should have thought of a different profession if you were going to be a guy who listened for a heartbeat, couldn't find one, and then killed a girl because of your medical expertise. Yeah, that's like really bad. So maybe medicine isn't your forte.
I'd say not.
But regardless, like, yeah, she ultimately picks one of them, right? She's not like fucking one of them and then running over here and screwing the other one and turning them all against each other, right? Like, she ultimately picks one dude she thinks is cute, and the guys accept it, right? Like, they see them rolling around on the ground together and kind of on top of each other, and then they're like, well, I guess we lost, and they walk away, like, good for him. And then, you know, he can't get it up, and they're calling for him, and he looks out at them, and they're still buds, and they hang out and everything. So there's no animosity. There's no, like, vindictive nature to them where, like, you stole my girl or anything. It's just they kind of have a lover's quarrel, and he gets jealous and she gets annoyed, and they take it out, and then he pushes her, and it's like, yeah, it's, did he intend to kill her? Did he intend to hurt her? No, he just kind of wants her to shut up. And it is an accident, technically. You shouldn't be shoving chicks, but, like, you know, he pushes her because he's, like, drunk and being angry, and then she hits her head, and this is when you gotta, you know, that is technically an accident. Yeah. But when you hide the body and you put it in a car and you drown in the river, there's no longer evidence. That's murder, right? Yeah. So they commit this crime, and then, you know, she comes up in the back seat, and only one of them tries to go after her, and he barely goes in after
Oh,
her.
man.
He like gets up to here on his body, and then he's like, I guess I can't do anything.
So minimal, yeah.
And this once again reminds me very heavily of The Woman in Black, because you know, her body remains are in a car in the water, right? Mm-hmm. Which you saw the Daniel Radcliffe.
I did,
one,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
He has to dive down into the mud or like the swamp or whatever to retrieve the car and pull her body out to put her to rest, even though she's already buried. I don't know, ghost logic. But yeah, in this though, they do the same thing. They pull the body out and it like falls apart. And it's like melting.
So gnarly looking.
It's really cool.
It's like gelatin. Like her skin is so. Like, it has absorbed so much water.
Yeah.
Oh, man. It looked great, but it was gnarly.
Yeah.
It was really gnarly.
Yeah, and this saves the son. And one of the guys, the Fred Astaire?
I think so. Yeah, he lives.
He's the, like, goofy guy who is drunk, and I guess he doesn't deserve it. I don't know. They all decided to bury her. I mean, this is very, I know what you did last summer.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Which, you know, Jennifer Love Hewitt tries to, like, you know, push the blame off of herself by being like, I didn't want to do it. And they're, like, threatening her. It's like, you gotta stick with your morals there and be like, yeah, I'm turning your ass in because I ain't being a part of this. Yeah. But excellent. I mean, just really wonderful. So many great moments. And I really like the scene too when the guy's driving and he ultimately crashes and dies. She's in like the back seat, but before that he drives through her, and it gives like this X-ray vision where you like see through her bones as he drives through her.
Super cool.
Shit was awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, just really wonderful ghost stuff.
Yeah. And the kid's in the back seat of the car. That's what it is.
Yeah.
The supernatural kid.
Yeah, that's why we were like.
I don't know who that is. I don't get that part of the story. But
no.
So honestly, my only real critique, I don't really like the homeless guy and kid thing. I think that this film could have been better without them, or if you're going to have them in here, explain better.
Yes.
Why they're here.
Yeah.
Maybe they did and weren't paying attention, but I was really paying attention.
I was too, but I totally missed it. So that's like my only critique too, just because I'm confused by it. I'm just like, who are they? Why are they here?
Sure.
What do they want?
Sure. But have you seen this? Are you down with the Chowder Society? Because we ain't.
Nope. No
Sons of bitches.
No chowder.
No chowder for me. Yeah, but excellent film. And yeah, just this put more of a spotlight on Alice Krige as like
wonderful actress.
Yeah, cool character. Really like the Alma Eva story. All that stuff is awesome.
Yeah.
So if you haven't seen it, check it out. Let us know. All right.